Okay, welcome everybody to our webinar today. I'm Chris Madrid French. I'm the Executive Director of Napa County Landmarks. I see a bunch of friends there in our participants. Today we're going to be discussing getting the record right, digital documentation of Napa's first national bank. Napa County Landmarks has been the steward of this building for many decades, since the 1990s. And we were inspired to document this whole building by a set of circumstances, which we'll be talking about. So today I would like to introduce Shari Kamimori. You can go ahead and turn on your camera and your sound, as she is the principal and founder of 3D Virtual Design Technology, headquartered here in Napa, and a very valued board member of Napa County Landmarks. Hey, Shari, I'm going to let you go ahead.
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Again, I'm Shari Kamimori, um, founder of 3D Virtual Design Technology. We are a women-owned business enterprise, and we specialize in building documentation using 3D reality capture technology for the architectural, engineering, and construction industries, as well as the preservation sectors. So today I will provide an overview of how we are using this advanced 3D digital technology to record and protect landmarks such as the First National Bank, which is occupied by Ristorante Alegria in downtown Napa. So if I can advance here. There we go. So as the owners of the First National Bank, Napa County Landmarks engaged 3D VDT to document this landmark building, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, because there was little to none known documentation that exists for this building. So on July 1st of 2025, we captured this building using our 3D technology tools. We engaged our drone services to capture images and laser scanners to measure the building, both the interior and the exterior. So some of the equipment that we used for our captures are different forms of technology, 3D scanners, for example. We have laser scanners. We have, again, aerial drones that will capture photos as well as LiDAR data. We have handheld scanners for scanning smaller objects. There are mounted sensors, wearable sensors, sensors on top of cars that are capturing our streets for Google, etc. So and they keep developing and inventing new forms of technology every day. So back to the First National Bank building. Before I talk about our recent capture, I wanted to reflect back on a project that we did. The building was damaged heavily in the Napa 2014 earthquake. And while the exterior facade was restored, the interior was not touched. We didn't have a lot of damage on the interior, but a lot of the crown molding up at the ceiling area had fallen off. But because the challenges of the restaurant being occupied, the space being occupied by the restaurant, the challenges of being able to do the restoration work, repair work was not only financially not feasible, but the logistics were very difficult. So fast forward to 2019 during the pandemic, I took that opportunity to approach Napa County Landmarks to revisit this project, and because the restaurant was not in operation. We were able to um, plan this project to do the restoration work. Part of the problem of cost initially was one, the logistics of getting the scaffolding up and down during off hours while the business was in operation. And the other challenge was, of course, the process of trying to recreate these plaster moldings for all of the areas where the crown molding had fallen. So as the technologies and materials were advancing, we were able to present Napa County Landmarks with a solution to actually 3D print the molding. The material that was used was a heavy resin, which also was textured, so it mimicked the appearance of the original plaster. And we set up the scaffold and use the handheld scanner close up to capture the original crown molding on both sides of the void. And from that scan data, we were able to create a model, a 3D model that was then printed. And this is the result that you see down here, the printed pieces, which were then installed, and the paint was matched to fill in all of those missing pieces. And all of this happened, the scanning, the modeling, the printing, the installation, the painting within 2 weeks. So it was a fraction of the original cost to have done it traditionally. And that process would have taken about 6 months because of the logistics of the building being occupied. So we were very pleased with the results. If you walk into the building or visit the restaurant and you look up, you will not be able to tell where those pieces were missing and which is printed and which is plaster. So back to the documentation, the recent documentation that we did of the building. We used our aerial drone, pardon me, to capture 2D and 3D images of the entire building exterior. Here is a capture of the rooftop where you can see all of the equipment, and we'll also be able to inspect anything that is going on with this building at the rooftop level. And from the capture, we also created thermal images. What this is showing here is a heat sensor map of what's going on with the surface. And as we were capturing the thermal imagery, our drone pilot noticed a heat source over here down on the bottom right-hand corner. So we notified the tenant immediately to have that checked out, and it was verified by a mechanical engineer that that was an AC unit that does produce heat, and that it was a natural thing to produce heat, and that's what we're looking at. So that was a relief. Here are some of the imagery that was captured by the drone as well, very close up with very, very high definition resolution. So you're able to do building facade inspections, what's going on, if you to notice and recognize any anomalies that are happening. Down here, you can see that one of the dentals is damaged. So being able to spot and identify what's going on with these buildings that you cannot see visually from a visual inspection from the ground level. This allows the Napa County Landmarks to keep an eye and on the monitoring of the preservation and conservation of this building. This is the west facade, just looking over the patio that is there right now. This is in fairly good condition because this was one of the restoration projects right after the earthquake. And here again, you can see via the thermal image that what it's doing, the different colors represent a heat map. So the cooler, the blue coloration is showing a cooler area, whereby right here, there's a big red spot, which is a huge heat source. And if you look over here to the image, you can see that it is damaging some of the masonry on the building. So these are things that can be um, used for, again, the conservation and maintenance of the building. So in addition to the 2D photography, we've also taken 3D photography for 360 panoramic views. This is a capture of the building, which is right here, and its current surroundings, which is a nice set of documentation to have because no sooner than a year from now, or even happening as we speak, the entire built environment is changing rapidly due to the First Street project that's going on. So, yeah, this is a provided by Chris. Thank you, Chris. This image shows what is happening right now, and also being used to keep an eye on the First National Bank building. So back to the capture process, we use the laser scanner, which is capturing LiDAR data to document also not only the exterior of the building, but the interior. And these red dots indicate scan locations, which when used in this virtual viewer that was also provided to Napa County Landmarks, you could navigate virtually through the entire interior space. And while clicking on each one of these scan positions, you have a 360-degree panoramic view from that position. So it could also be, because it is scalable, measurable data, you can also go in and do some inspections and just maintain the building's appearance. So what you're looking at here is what we call a 3D point cloud. Once all of the scan data has been captured, we process the data to create a 3D, what we call point cloud model. So the laser scanners are capturing and measuring 2 million points in 3D per second. So there are basically billions of pixel points that then comprise of this 3D point cloud model. We take that data and we turn it into an actual model. So what you're looking at here is just a 2D orthographic view using the photography as well as the laser scan data. We have scalable and measurable elevations for, again, further inspection purposes. And then from that data, we create a 3D model. Now, these are intelligent models that allow us to extract a full set of documents for this building. For example, floor plans. So now there's a complete set of floor plans for this building as well as a roof plan. Sectional views that could be cut in any direction at any height of the model. And elevation views showing the intricate details. So while it's not modeled, we're able to use those orthographic images that I showed earlier to be able to create all of the fine detail and ornamentation work on that building as it is today. So all of these drawings will be used and held for archival purposes. And yeah, so that was basically the case study of the documentation of the First National Bank. And just to talk a little bit more about the technology, fun fact, For many of you who have been downtown Napa, the Napa Lighted Arts Festival is going on right now. And maybe you've wondered how these beautiful 3D light shows are being projected onto the buildings. Well, um, 3D VDT has gone out and scanned these building facade, which you see over here on the left. This is the actual point cloud data. And then from that, we've created a 3D model. Now, these models are showing every detail of the actual building so that when the artist receives the model, they are able to create their entire shows on the computer without actually having seen the building. For example, two of the artists who have used the Presbyterian Church for projection mapping, one was in Italy and the other was in Germany. So this has allowed representation of international artists in showcasing their artwork in Napa. And this is as you all probably are aware of, the Franklin Station post office. We captured the building with LiDAR data right after the earthquake for restoration purposes, seismic upgrades, and again documenting the building, the existing conditions at this time. This is just an inside look at how part of the process that we use to do that. All of these little white cameras are positions of the drone that has taken the images. And what you're seeing here is the point cloud data, the scan data from the LiDAR laser scanner. And we combine those, the two data sets to create, again, 2D and 3D documentation. So in this case, those high resolution photographs have been mapped onto the scan data to create these very, very high definition images that are to scale. So you can go in and visually inspect what's going on, where the damage has occurred, as the first step for restoration purposes. Again, the 3D model has been created of the post office, and from the 3D model, a complete set of drawings have been created. So there are floor plans and elevations, and again, sections, etc. So when the building changes in appearance, which will be happening soon, we have a record. There is a recordation of the post office before all of these changes and repurposing have been made. So that was the post office as is, and this is a rendering of the new appearance from BAR Architects. We're very fortunate to have been able to save this building. And as Napa County Landmarks or stewards holding the covenant, the easement for this building, we were asked to, or Napa County Landmarks was asked to provide their recommendation for the final design, and it was approved so that before it was presented to the city for permitting. And thank goodness, because it's a beautiful building, and a majority of the building, the most important and iconic view of the front facade will be not only restored, but saved. So this is adapting the new technologies to preserve, conserve, and act as stewards for preserving our heritage buildings is extremely important to document them before they are destroyed, in an earthquake or which sometimes happens, being demolished for new development projects. So we are asked by many architectural historians who provide recommendations for mitigation measures of historic structures to create the documentation. And many agencies, many local governments have been on board with including 3D digital data to supplement the HABs, which is stands for Historic American Building Survey. It's a regulatory compliance that was established in 1933 to create a public archive of America's architectural heritage, consisting of measure drawings, historical reports, and large format black and white photographs. This is documentation that is housed with with the Library of Congress. But the additional, in addition to the drawings and photographs, we've also been creating with the 3D technology digital videos and video footage for archival with preservation organizations, historical societies, and local museums. So to give you an example, this is just as I'm ending my presentation. This is a video of the 3D point cloud of the Watmouth Bridge in Sonoma, which is being taken down for structural purposes to be reinforced. So if these resources can be captured in time before they are altered, demolished, or destroyed, then they will be available for future generations, if nothing virtually at least. And so we are very excited that it is being embraced more often to be a part of the recordation process for stewarding and preserving our local heritage. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Shari. This is wonderful. So we will have, you can go ahead and stop your screen share if you want.
I will
And
do that.
I want to say hello to everybody who is just joining. We do have a Q&A box if you'd like to put any questions for Shari. I have loads of questions. And also we have a chat window. You can also post any questions in the webinar chat. And this will be recorded so we can watch later, and also you can share with your friends and colleagues. So I wanted, so interestingly, Shari, my career started at the Historic American Building Survey in 1992. It was the first place I worked after I got my graduate degree from the University of Utah. I think we should mention that with HABs in the old days, right? In the old days, if you wanted to record a structure the way that you're doing it now, you would actually have to hand measure. And if you didn't have original drawings, we would send people out and they would have all these measuring tools, and the team of architects who would hand measure an entire building and then create the set of drawings. And even when you did that, it was still a static kind of a 2D. Right. And so what you're doing now is so incredibly immersive. And so it's such a useful tool. How many buildings have you documented in Napa County?
Oh, in Napa, I don't know if I can count them all, but a lot, many. Even before the earthquake, we had started documenting the Center Building, the Gordon Building, the Goodman Library, the Opera House, the Courthouse, the First National Bank now, the Post Office. So quite a few buildings. And the interesting thing is especially with the Gordon Building, we did document that building prior to the earthquake. And we went back and documented it post-earthquake. And we were able to use the data to compare and do structural analysis on what changed and how that building shifted, what it looked like before, and how much it was damaged afterwards. So there's multiple ways of being able to use this data. And because it is digitally recorded, it's it will be around for future generations or even for stewardship of these heritage buildings.
Right. So I would say, why don't we just document everything? Because this is wonderful, right? We should just have the whole town documented. But doing the documentation is actually fairly expensive per building, and because the equipment that you need, is that right?
Well, I mean, when the technology, I mean, the technology of laser scanning and this 3D capture has been around for, many, many years in other industries, right? The archaeology industry, automotive industry, medical industry. But it's only recently been adopted into the architectural engineering and construction industries, which we steward. But the adoption of an introduction into the preservation industry came about when these heritage buildings were being lost to destruction and natural disaster, but then also war or in many cases just demolition for new development. So being able to it sounds like it's an investment, it's a big investment, but any project where you're going to do work on it and an existing structure, because that's what we do, we document the built environment. So any structure that is going to be altered, reused, repurposed, will need to be documented anyway. And if it's historic, then even better for its protection for long term. And so yeah, so 3D we chose two niche markets, one of them being the AEC industry and preservation, and are very excited about not only the developments but how it's being embraced by these sectors for different reasons, right? The architects and engineers are using the information not just to create as-built, but also for construction phasing, to see to document what's there before things are closed up, to better maintain these buildings during its entire life cycle. So it sounds like, yeah, it's a big investment, but if you add up all of the it's a huge risk mitigation tool for, so that you are um, using preventative measures in doing it right, capturing it to millimeter accuracy, and relying on that accurate data for maintaining the building in its entire life cycle, really. So if you look at it that way, and not have to go backwards, reverse engineer what happened and how do we fix it, the cost is minimal. So it's just right. It is
Right. Well,
it has to,
you
you have to
can't
look at it that
recover
way.
that. Like when the
Yeah.
corner fell off of the Alexandria Hotel, the old hotel, you need that information, and it can even do brick by brick. I think bridges are important. And then when you have a collection of historic architecture like we have here in Napa County, every piece that you lose damages the integrity of the entire collection. And so to have this information is so important. So I'll just update people on the First National Bank. So there was an old department store there that was not at its height in its success at this point. 1970s construction, and it was demolished. And the new $500 million hotel and condos and new streetscape is going up immediately adjacent to our 1916 structure. And so what we wanted to do was make sure that we had all of the documentation completed so we could ourselves we are working very closely with the developers, and they're very communicative with us. But we wanted to make sure we had our own documentation set, which we could, if there were any sort of damages to the structure. You saw there's two big cranes. There was quite a bit of concrete removal. And then the construction actually comes up within about 8 inches of our building because they're redoing all of the patio surfaces or the hard surfaces outside. Anyway, we wanted to have an absolutely airtight documentation of what the building looked like, where there might already be a crack or something, so that we can do a comparison at the end. So you've had other people use this kind of documentation for things like this. You also documented the Gordon building, which is on the other side of this construction. Is that right?
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that was it was again, like I said, it when we had documented it, it was just for a repurpose project to renovate the building. But then after the earthquake, of course, it became a restoration seismic upgrade project. So in many ways, I think if it needs to be envisioned and understood that what is a little bit of extra cost up front mean for this building structure, um, in perpetuity forever, right? It's minimal. It's nothing because, like you said, once it's lost, it's gone. And the great thing about if you've captured to the precise detail that our machines do, you can actually reconstruct something that has completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a
Like
much
3D printing, right? You did some
like
3D
3D
printing
printing.
based on a.
It's just
Mhm.
it's a much quicker, more economically feasible process of restoring or matching or recreating, reverse engineering what is already there. So, because what happens is maintaining, as you are well aware, maintaining a historic structure is sometimes cost prohibitive. And if we can, if this technology can help to reduce that cost, but maintain its historic integrity, at least visually, why not?
Mhm.
Like the crown molding in the First National Bank, from 25 feet up, you can't tell. You could walk into that building and you will not be able to tell where the original is and where the 3D printed is. And so embracing where you can, right? It's the interior of the building. It's not the exterior. And so where you can, it would have probably never been replaced, or at least it would have taken some time before, um, that money could be raised to do it if
Right.
without these challenges. So
Well,
it
even that terracotta tile, so the Gordon building, which you worked on, which is on First Street in Napa, and our building, which is a beautiful classical revival, looks like stone. It is not stone. It is terracotta tile on a granite base. And so to replace that in an actual piece of terracotta, I think would be quite cost prohibitive if we lost any of the details on the outside of the building. So being able to remanufacture that in an enduring material that replicates for the most part the original. Same with the Gordon building, and also with the post office. It has that beautiful frieze along the top of all terracotta figures. We have a lot of terracotta here in Napa. So, and it's such a delicate material, and it's quite beautiful. And I value every one of our buildings that has that on the facade. So, but I don't think we have any more questions today, Shari. So I wanted to thank you again for coming. Do you want to give us some more information about your company if someone wants to get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, 3D VDT, which stands for 3D Virtual Design Technology, is a woman-owned business enterprise, and we specialize in building documentation using 3D reality capture technology for the architectural, engineering, construction, and preservation sectors.
Thank you, Terry. And Napa County Landmarks is a private nonprofit, and we've been established for more than 50 years here in Napa. And our primary mission is to bring these buildings with us into the future and use them as an economic driver for Napa County. So thank you again, Shari. And if anyone wants to join, like, or donate, we're at napacountylandmarks.org. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
very much,
thanks.
Chris.